they had come out of the bar and the yelling had happened and they had turned left towards Matthew's Pizza area. So that was out of my view. I just saw them come out. I did see the police cars go down Eastern Avenue and stop in that area. So I could see the sirens and the police cars. I did not physically see what happened after that. I can only see them come out of the bar and the pushing that happened that was in my sight.
Have you ever talked to the licensee?
I've talked to her at the Canton Association meeting, and that is it.
When was that Canton Association meeting?
Again, I don't remember all dates, but I know that our Canton Association representative did say those dates.
Have you ever been in the bar?
I have not.
Would you see the clientele that goes in the bar?
Do I see them from
watching people
these
going in?
incidents? Yes.
Be like these people over here on this side?
Sure.
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
Yes or no?
I don't recognize specific faces.
Just the type of clientele that go in, basically.
Objection, relevance, and badgering the witness.
Yeah.
No, overruled.
There are also African American individuals, and there are also Caucasian individuals that do go in there, and Hispanics. Yeah.
I have a few questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Switchy, thanks for coming down.
Absolutely.
Have you had an opportunity to look at these calls for service that was submitted by the protestants?
I have not looked at those individually. No.
Okay. Are you familiar with Bistro RX, Pacific Coast, Annabelle Lee Tavern, and Matthew's Best Pizza?
I've actually been to all of them. Yes.
Would you be surprised to know that every single one of those locations has had a common assault call for service? Very similar to the description that you gave me and the video that we just watched. That's the kind of, disorderly conduct, common assault.
I would say multiple, no, but I would agree that when alcohol is involved, something could happen.
Okay. Are you afraid for your safety to attend those licensed establishments with a similar history of common assault?
No, I am not aware of all their history. If I were to see their history and it was listed as many as this bar, and if I were to see them daily and nightly as I see this La Raza, then absolutely I would be.
So I just want to be clear. You testify that you are afraid for your safety, and I find your statements to be extremely credible and convincing. But I'm asking, why are you afraid of La Raza Cantina based on the assault charges or the calls for assault, and haven't stated your concern or fear for attending the other licensed establishments? What's the difference?
The difference is that I see it and I experience it firsthand. If I hear about it, I mean, I've heard things about other areas in the city as well. If I don't experience it, I mean, obviously there's a thought put in your head, but I don't experience it daily. These are situations that I see all the time, I experience all the time, which is the only reason why I say such a strong statement that I fear for my safety.
No further questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pucci.
No further.
What do you want to do about Exhibit 26?
We can, it's fine, we don't need it.
You don't have the person here.
He's not here.
Okay.
Nope.
Sure, we're off the record.
Excuse me, that's his packet here.
All right, we're back on the record. Exhibit 26 has been withdrawn by the protestants. And we'll hear from you, Mr. Kaninsky.
Well, as to the exhibits themselves, my objection to them with regard to relevancy is as follows, and I'll use this also in closing, that I went through all these exhibits, and none of them, other than the two testimony of the last witnesses that they saw something of them outside, have any witnessed any type of event that was happening. They all mimic or parrot every other letter that's in there based on information that they got from somebody else, but there's no probative value to any of the things they state because there are no witnesses, factual witnesses to when it happened. As to the police report, exactly the same thing. Exhibit number 24 refers to an incident that happened in 3137 for people fighting. There's nothing to indicate there's any nexus to this particular establishment, and the video also indicates on October 1st, but everything's on the outside. There's nothing with regard to anything that happened with regard to the interior or the operation in this particular establishment.
I just respond by saying that.
Yeah, there's
oh,
no
you
need
don't
to.
want to. Okay.
That's not closing.
Okay.
My motion to dismiss.
Motion's renewed, and we'll deny your motion. Then we'll, as far as the lack of probative value of the exhibits, the board will examine the exhibits, but this time there's, as far as a prima facie case, as far as the light most favorable to the petitioner, deny your motion.
They want you to speak to the microphone by direction of CBS.
Ms. Mahana?
State your name and address for the record, please.
Diddley Mejia. My name is spelled Yerelin. Mejia, Mejia.
Now, you are the licensee here, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, with regard to your establishment, have you had any arrests or any incidents that happened on the inside of your establishment?
Never.
And that's since you've been a licensee, correct?
Yes.
And along with that, do you have security cameras,
Yes, we do.
inside and outside?
Yes.
You have the street lit, lights on the street?
Yes.
All right, and do you have security people work for you?
Yeah.
And how many people do you have working, say, on a Saturday night?
On a Saturday night, I have a security guy. He usually brings two friends along that I'll actually help him watch everything that's going on around because that's usually his day. And we also have him on Fridays and Sundays.
Ever been given any citations or concerning any trash?
No.
Have you given any citations concerning any health violations?
No.
Have you given any citations concerning any environmental
No.
violations? Any, other than this one that's pending here since the time of your operation, have you been given any liquor board violations?
Kind of. I had to pay some taxes. I didn't.
For good standing?
Yes.
All right, do you, and then regularly the inspectors come in from the liquor board, correct?
Yeah.
All right, now, with regard to the two incidents that you've seen them. Not only did you see it here, you saw it in my office, correct? The
Right.
October the 1st? All right, so I want you to know you saw the whole thing.
Yes.
All right, and along with that, you have any incident report that this gentleman was even in your place that day?
No.
Do you know anything about the incident other than what you saw on the tape?
Nope. Not at all.
On the incident for September the 29th, the police report that was issued, they mentioned a person named Sean Clifton. You know who he is?
That's my security.
Your security man. All right. And what is your knowledge as to what happened on the September the 29th? 30th, I'm sorry, September 30th, excuse me.
Well, we were about to close, so people left out of this establishment, and a couple of days later, I heard that there was a incident outside. Oh,
Do you have any Give us clip-on mic. I am up in the control room, give us clip-on mics. Do you have any information that these two individuals were even in your place?
no,
Did the police come and talk to you at all about this incident?
no,
You have security cameras that we make available to the police,
yes,
all right? And along with that, regarding the incident that happened on the 30th, you have one of your managers here, is that correct?
yes,
All right, and she'll actually testify as to what she knows about those two incidents,
yes,
all right? And regarding the meeting with the neighborhood, have you ever talked to any of your neighbors?
no. I had never been approached by any of them, and I really haven't.
All right, did you go to a community meeting ever?
I went to the one prior to the last liquor board hearing that we had in April.
Were you invited to any other ones since then?
No, never.
I want to show you a series of pictures. Do they tell me if they accurately depict the area of your bar and the East Avenue?
This is a picture.
No, just to tell me if they accurately depict it. When did you take those pictures?
I took them just a couple of days ago. I took them.
You can show them to council.
That's the door on the south. That's the alley across the street.
Mhm.
There's a trash can right in front of our bar or the bus stop. You,
Okay, you just have to show them to her. You don't have to tell her what they are.
That's fine. I have no.
All right.
There's pictures of the general area.
All right, we'll look at these photographs. Looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
for the outside and this around.
Like 16 photos. We'll mark them collectively as the Exhibit A on behalf of the licensee.
One particular.
They're A, although if you,
I don't want to say.
right.
One's down here, is that correct?
Mhm.
It goes to an alley.
Yes.
You saw the video from October 1st. That's where the gentleman was arrested, correct?
Yes.
You know who that gentleman was? You know if he was ever in your place?
He frequents the place, but he wasn't.
You said you went to one community meeting, correct?
Yes.
Why didn't you go to any other?
Well, last time I was there, I felt attacked by all of them there. So I just felt that if anything needs to be basically.
Objection,
admonished to me.
relevance, this was before the time period.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and sustain that.
The question is why she didn't go to community meetings, because she asked the question as to whether or not she was invited to the community meetings, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we're
So she's entitled to answer that.
going to redo that, and we are going to allow it.
Go ahead.
So last time that I went there, I felt attacked by other people in there. So I'm not gonna go to a place by myself that I'm getting attacked by everybody.
You felt physically threatened?
Not like that, just emotionally.
Okay.
Now, what if anything, you've heard some of the concerns of the community here. What if anything could you offer that you would do differently now than what you've been doing in the past?
Besides the fact that I didn't know much of what was going on outside, because once we closed the bar, we tried to get everybody to go by telling them to go. And usually the security guy makes sure that everybody gets out of the building. So what happens outside is a little bit out of our control. Besides that, I can say that I can only put like some kind of notes outside or something to let the customers know that we wanted to go straight up home after that.
I have no further questions.
All right, thank you very much.
So you just testified that despite the board's direction to attend meetings at the last hearing, you haven't actually been to any community association since the April hearing, correct?
Right, I never, like he's asked me if I was invited, I never been invited to any.
Okay, so if I showed you an email from Dan Tracy inviting you to a community association meeting that,
Where's my email?
yes, is this your email address?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so this is an email that I'd like to submit as exhibit number,
29.
which is an email from Dan Tracy to Ms. Mejia, inviting her to Community Association Economic Development Committee meetings.
What's the date on that?
Date is June 8th, 2012, June 5th, 2012. Any objection?
No, only as to relevance, but I'll address it later.
Okay. We'll admit the exhibit protestants 29 is received, and we'll give that to you if you want to look at it.
Ms. Mejia, you testified that you weren't even at the bar on September 30th, is that correct?
I was not there that night.
And you aren't at the bar most nights, are you?
I'm there usually 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay, so you're not there usually then?
Not every night.
Okay. And you allow promoters to rent out the space for their own use, don't you?
No.
So you are in control of everybody who comes in and out of that bar?
But I'm aware of everything that happens on it, yes.
Are you, you don't know all the people who go to the bar, though?
No.
Okay, so if Mr. Kadensky was asking you, did you know if X or Y was in the bar, you wouldn't know that?
Usually I know my nickname because every has a nickname.
By seeing their faces, even though you're not at the bar every night.
And I don't have to be at the bar every night to see the customers that come in every night.
And so you don't know, actually, if the individuals who Mr. Kadensky has alleged were not in the bar on September 30th, you don't actually know if they were in the bar or not.
But the manager told me, so I asked her personally.
So you personally don't have knowledge about that?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay. And these security cameras, you testified that they're available to the police, is that correct?
Yes.
So on the September 30th police report, it says there are cameras outside the bar, but the police were unable to access them. So they're actually not available at all times to the police, are they?
They're there, so if they need it and they need to see it, they can see it.
Okay, well, according to them, they couldn't.
Well, according to her, she didn't understand what they were talking about.
Okay, no further questions.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Mejia. Question, Commissioner?
Yes, I have a few questions. Thank you, Ms. Mejia, for coming down. You stated that the last meeting that you attended, that you felt attacked. When you walked into the meeting, were the residents seated?
Yeah.
Did they start yelling at you?
Yes.
Did they stand up and get in your face?
No, they didn't stand up. They were just constantly yelling at me.
They were constantly yelling. Did they call you names?
No.
How long did you stay?
I was there throughout the whole meeting.
How long was that?
Like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Did you resolve any of their concerns at that time?
They were not trying to resolve anything.
Did they make suggestions for you
No,
to?
they just said that it was too late to even try to arrange anything.
What's the capacity of your bar?
2:15.
How many members of your security do you have employed?
Usually one will keep track of it, and Saturdays, like I say, is the busiest night, so he brings 2 friends over.
2 friends.
Basically, they're also security guys, but they off on that night. They just go to help him out.
You have 1 employee for 215 people.
Well, we never had that.
Security personnel for 215 people.
Right.
You also stated in your testimony that what goes on, and I'm paraphrasing, is outside of your control, outside of your establishment. Where does your property line end?
Right before the alley.
The alley. Would that be a part of your area or your authority to monitor those areas?
Well, we don't have the camera that covers the alley. We have the camera that covers that side of the barn.
Would it be your personnel's responsibility to monitor that area?
Not necessarily. We maintain it clean as far as we can.
So whose responsibility is it for your patrons when they stand outside of your establishment in that alley?
No, I'm sure it's mine, and I do let them know, but I can control people that are drinking and that they grown up. So you can tell them to do something, they don't always gonna do it like that.
Have you read our rules? It's written in Spanish as well. Have you read our rules? You have not read the board's rules. Do you know the alcoholic limit that you're supposed to serve your patrons?
Yes.
What is that?
It's supposed to be years per hour or something.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there someone else who operates using our rules other than you in your establishment? Who is that person?
The manager's at
The manager. Okay. So just to be clear, how often are you there?
about 3 to 4 times a week.
So 3 days out of the week. The other 4 days, you're open?
Yes, the manager take care of it.
Okay. Okay. When you're there, is the manager there?
Most of the nights. She has off like 2 nights out of the week.
The days the 3 or 4 days that you're there, are you there by yourself?
Sometimes.
Okay. And those 3 to 4 days, is it my understanding that you may or may not know the alcoholic limit that you should be giving your patrons because you haven't read the rules?
I do.
It's a yes or no. Okay. One last question for you. Was there anyone who supported your license, your application for this license establishment? Anyone in the community that said that they would support you when you made application?
Well, the Merchant Association. Not really. No,
No one did.
I don't think so.
Okay. I think you. Okay. You had no supporters for your application.
Besides the people that that are around me, is around me, no community didn't know.
So that you're saying that the Highlandtown Merchants Association
Those are
opposed
the
your
only people
application?
that was actually in favor for it, but other
So
than
they
that-
supported you?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
So yes, they have. You do
Yeah,
have
they
some,
have, yeah.
some supporters. Have you spoken to them regarding your interactions with your immediate neighbors and how you could,
I have spoken to them.
have you asked them to serve as an intermediary to mediate the concerns that your
It's
neighbors
been
have?
very hard for me to reach people and actually keep in contact or stay in contact with them, but I have.
Why is that?
Usually I call them, leave a voicemail or try doing that, and I just don't get any response back.
Nothing further, Chairman. Thank you.
This is one question you asked, I don't think I understood the answer. Do you think that you are responsible for the immediate area on the outside of your property?
I do,
The behavior of your clientele?
yes.
Well, if you have one employee security on the inside, did anyone go outside and just peruse, just to see what's going on the outside,
Yeah,
especially near closing time?
yes, the security usually does.
What's the average capacity you have on weekends?
Pardon me?
40 to 50 people.
40 to 50 people? Do they all walk in the same direction to go to their cars?
Usually, because parking is not that common around the area, so.
So I would think that it's sporadic, but in different directions. Do you have security to kind of like look in various directions to see whether or not they are going directly to their cars or whether there's any unfriendly interaction between them?
Not necessarily, no.
Question. Isn't it true that actually Hampstead Hill Association also supported your application for a liquor license, Ms. Mejia?
Oh, they did.
And now they are supporting the revocation, correct?
Can I ask you the question one way or the other?
There's already into evidence, so we don't need that.
Let
All
me
right.
ask you a question regarding the chairman, the commissioner, it's not him, he's chairman.
One chairman.
It's when your security people perceive or see a problem outside, what are they instructed to do?
They instructed to make sure that the bar is empty and that there's nobody hanging outside.
But if there's this problem on the outside, are they instructed to call the police?
Yes.
Do they have any authority to arrest anybody outside?
No.
All right, I have no further questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bahia.
Call Ed Owens. State your name and address for the record, please.
Ms. Edward E. Owens Jr., Ms. Baltimore City Liquor Board, in for the city of Baltimore.
Did you say junior?
That's correct.
Record.
Look for
What-
old for junior.
What is, what is your occupation?
I'm a liquor board inspector
And
in
is
for
this-
the city of Baltimore.
And you've been there for,
15 years.
this is one of your areas that you,
That is correct, Counselor.
and you've had opportunity to visit this location along with another inspector, is that correct?
I have.
And what other inspector was that?
It's Michael Hyde. Michael Hyde is my partner in the area.
All right, and then what has been your experience when you visited the location?
In the last several months, between June and October, approximately June the 24th and October the 23rd, we've received just 4 noise complaints on the Araza.
All right, did you go investigate them?
We did.
What was the result of your investigation?
Unsubstantiated.
They were not substantiated.
Unsubstantiated.
Unsubstantiated,
correct,
okay.
correct.
And were you able to determine where they came from?
The complaints
Yeah.
themselves,
Mhm.
anonymous.
All right, and then regarding any, did you get any 311 complaints other than these here you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about,
Just
the
those.
311 complaints.
So
that's
during
it.
that whole time, that's the only thing that you received, and they were unsubstantiated?
And there were 4, and they were noise complaints, correct.
And they were unsubstantiated when you
That's
got there?
correct.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Owens,
Mr. Chair.
you responded to a complaint at La Raza Cantina on June 25th, 2012, isn't that right?
That is correct.
You and Mr. Michael Hyde,
That is
isn't that
correct.
right? At that time, you instructed the licensee or the manager, Ms. Mitra,
That's correct.
to make sure that those who have operational duties of the bar keep the volume of the music at such a volume to be enjoyed by the patrons on the inside and not on the outside. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
All right, then again, on October 3rd, I'm sorry, then on October 3rd, you showed up for a violation that allegedly occurred on October 1st. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
2 days later.
2 days
after-
later, that's
Okay.
correct.
And you showed up at 4:20 in the afternoon.
That is correct.
All right. And you don't know what time that complaint came in on October 1st, 2012, do you?
I do not know, but I will tell you this, because the La Raza sometimes does not open until maybe 3 or 4 o'clock.
Right, but do you realize there was a stabbing on October 1st? Or there's reports of violence on that day?
The reports that I got of the stabbing was outside the establishment, not on the inside. It was at a bus stop.
Right. And you, on that date, on October 3rd, you indicated to Miss Mills that the patrons have to have certain, that the bar has to place certain constraints on the behavior of its patrons. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
All right, and once the patrons depart the establishment, they cannot congregate on the outside of the premises. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
Okay. All right, and those are the only two reports that you personally investigated, isn't that right?
That is correct.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure.
Let me ask you this question. You know, if people congregate on the outside, as the commissioner was reading to you, what authority do you have to make people move?
I have no authority at all to make people move. I have the right, I do have the wherewithal to talk to the licensee or the managers of places and ask those people when they exit the La Raza, that they should go immediately to the next destination.
Who has the ultimate authority to make them move or arrest them?
I believe that would be the police department.
I don't have questions.
All right, thank you very much. And Inspector Owens, thank you as always. I am reviewing a document dated November 1st, 2012, compiled by the 311 supervisor of the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City, just for reference, so you understand. It's in our file and
Thank you
part of
very
these
much.
proceedings. Thank you, sir.
You're
You're
welcome.
going to make that part of the record.
Indeed, indeed. In fact, I'll be happy to make it agencies one in the event that, that nobody else wants to put it in. So if there's any objection, the 311 supervisor report dated November 1st, 2012 is entered into evidence as agency's first exhibit. All right, thank you very much. Sure.
I have to interpret for her.
Go, Brian.
We're speaking Spanish.
Uh-huh.
For the record, for those in the control room. State your name and address to the record, please.
Francisca Alvarado.
And how do you spell her name?
Everyone's going to need a microphone.
It's Miss Alvarado.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Mejia.
And what is your position at the establishment?
¿Cuál es su posición en el negocio?
Manager.
Manager.
All right, were you there on September the 30th?
Estaba ya septiembre 30. Yes.
Yeah, were you aware that there was a stabbing outside?
¿Usted supo de una pelea que hubo fuera, que hubo alguien que se le señalaba?
Estoy dentro.
She didn't know she was inside.
To your knowledge, were the people that were stabbed, were they in the establishment, ever in the establishment?
Lo que usted sabe, las personas que estaban dentro estaban en su negocio antes de salir, antes de la pelea. She doesn't know who was involved in the fight.
Did anybody ever come into the establishment asking for help?
Did anybody? Sorry. ¿Alguien entró y pidió ayuda adentro del negocio? Que si alguien entró y pidió ayuda adentro.
Ms. Mejia, she's going to still need to answer, even in Spanish, into the microphone, and then you can translate what she says.
Que tiene que
Thank you.
responder en el micrófono y después yo lo puedo traducir.
A mí no.
She said not to her. No one came to ask for help to her.
On October the 1st, was she aware that anything happened on the outside of the establishment?
Que si el 1 de octubre usted sabía que hubiera pasado algo afuera del negocio.
Yo miré afuera ya las patrullas, pero por la...
Okay. She said that she looked outside and she saw the police cars, but just from the window, she didn't know what was going on.
Did she see the man who the police were arresting?
Si usted vio al hombre que la policía estaba arrestando,
No.
She was definitely working on both of those days.
si estaba trabajando esos 2 días. Yes.
I don't have further questions.
All right, any questions? Gracias, señora.
No, won some friends.
My daughter speaks
All right.
more than I do.
This time, the rest of the-
She don't.
He doesn't.
Any other witnesses?
no, I'm going to list the people here in
Exhibit
favor.
B will be the proffer. I've got 18 names. Those, do you want more? I mean, yeah, if you want to finish that and bring that to me when you're all done.
You know, the petition I'll submit has about 100 names of people that are in favor. I'll let council look at before I go.
Certainly, certainly. All right. Do you mind if, do we normally get? Yeah, we normally do, if that's okay. Yeah, get addresses on a proffer list, more than just names. Yeah, and that helps us, obviously, with the geography, understand who would be testifying, so.
Oh, we could.
Yeah, we can go off the record while both sides prepare their proffer testimony lists. That's no problem with me. We'll take a brief pause off the record. And now that we're off the record, what are we, counsel, what are we looking for? Closing? Closing?
As soon as I submit it.
And he does have a petition in support.
Thank you.
All right, well then, if that's the case, why don't we take, I know you're going to need at least 5 minutes to get those addresses all written up. And you're pretty much done, so we want to take 5 minutes? Let's take a 5-minute recess. All right, let's go back on the record. All right, we're back on the record in the hearing phase, 3137 Eastern Avenue. We've been presented with a couple pieces of evidence. Petitioners 30, petitioners proffered, protestants, that's how we started. Protestants 30 is the petitioner's proffered testimony list. And we have licensees. Exhibit B is received. That is the licensee's proffered testimony list containing 22 names and addresses of those who would testify in support of La Raza Cantina. And petitioners, or protestants 30, the names of those who would testify against. We also have a petition, I understand, that we need to deal with.
So I'd object for a number of reasons. One is these first 2 pages have no addresses at all. And the majority of the rest of the addresses are not within the area of 3137 Eastern Ave. They're in Dundalk, they're on Pratt Street, they're all over the place, but there are very few, if you go through them, that are anywhere close to 3137 Eastern Avenue.
All right, here's how we're going to deal with your objection in 2 parts. As far as the first 2 pages, these are signatures with no addresses whatsoever. Do you intend to withdraw that part of your exhibit?
I'm going to make it part of the record, and you can make your decision, because people certainly are entitled to give their opinion one way or the other. If you feel that you're not going to accept them, mark them for identification purposes only then.
All right, well, we have a history of accepting petitions, even if they're signed by people who live far, far away. As Mr. Kadensky has argued many times, that his petition obviously says residents, customers, business persons in the area. We're going to go ahead and receive the petitioner's entire exhibit, and we'll determine what weight to accord to it. And that will be the petitioner's Exhibit C. The petition in support is received, and it will be reviewed by the board. And overruling your objection, all right, that's the close of evidence. We'll go to closing arguments at this time.
Mr. Commissioners, Madam Commissioner, I'd just like to leave you with several thoughts. A liquor license is a privilege, not a right. Ms. Mejia has lost the privilege of operating this bar because of her failure to stem the tide of violence, littering, and dangerous activities. It's clear that she is not up to the task of keeping this bar and its patrons in check. The overwhelming testimony today and in the exhibits before you has been that this is a dangerous bar. The people in front of you fear for their safety. Looking at the calls presented by Sarah Dickey on the call list, you can see that actually the situation since April is getting worse. There have been more calls since April than before, and the calls are for more serious and more severe incidents. Although other bars have calls, none have the number and the type of incidents that La Raza has. The situation is not going to change unless the license is revoked. If you do allow Ms. Mejia to continue her operations, you'll be elevating her rights as a business owner over the rights of the neighbors to live peacefully in the homes that they've purchased and over the rights of other business owners in the area, including the owner of High Grounds Cafe, who said that he's having difficulty maintaining his business and fears that he'll have to leave because of the situation at La Raza. The residents of this area are counting on you, on all three of you, to help ensure that the investments they've made in their homes and their community are to continue. They've reached out to Ms. Mejia, invited her to a community association meeting. She did not attend. She has not shown a willingness to be involved with the community. To make sure that these residents are able to sleep through a night without 6 police cars outside their home, we need to rescind this license. To make sure they can leave their homes in the morning without having to cross through police tape, you need to revoke this license. You have the power to remedy the situation in this neighborhood today by revoking the license, and I strongly urge you to seize this opportunity to ensure the future growth of this area of Baltimore City. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Kadensky?
Regarding the application, the petition in this case, I want to go through as best I can and give synopsize what I see. The operation of the bar itself with regard to violence, there's been not one police report that's been given into evidence that had anything to do with the operation inside the establishment. Littering, there's no environmental, there's nothing here that has anything to do with any littering. What happens is you get in these situations where they just throw in all these kind of things with noise, public urination, it just keeps dumping on a person. In this particular location here, if there was anything that had to do with the inside operation, you would have plenty of reports, you would have plenty of your inspector's reports indicating this is a bad operation. In that area, you know where it is. There's the Mustang, there's Matthew's Pizza, there's the Patterson. You know, all three of those, 4 of those now at this location have liquor licenses. This place has had a liquor license probably since Prohibition. What happens on the outside is very problematic in the whole city, not just with on this location. You know, I went through and everything, every day, there's 2 or 3 people get killed every day in this city. It's on page 4 of the newspaper, page 4. Instead of the first page. That's killed. Here you have robberies, the latest string on shootings on Greenmount Avenue. 8th gunshot wound in the last. Are you going to close Greenmount Avenue? We live in a very violent society because people just don't have control. If you tell a liquor license that he can go outside and have some control, then you will run into the same problem the fellow had at the Birdcage on North Avenue. He went outside, tried to go ahead and do things without calling the police, and they shot him dead, and they killed him right there. You indicated that this particular license indicated there's a problem. They went and tried to talk to them. If not, they call the police. It's a police issue. Now, with regard to the 2 incidents that you're talking about, there's no indication that these people were ever in the bar. The best one, your own inspector testified, and his information was the stabbing took place at the bus stop, which is across the street. Had nothing to do with him. The person who called the place that is listed right in the police report as a security person. Let me ask you a question in this thing here, and it's rhetorical, is why are there no police officers here? Why aren't they here to testify? And I quoted your exact statement. You know where that came out? It came out of the hearing, this hearing from before. Mm-hmm. Because police reports don't tell you anything.
Some are better than others.
They tell you an event happened. But who caused it? What happened? Where the people were? What they did? Was anybody charged? The October 1st, if it looked as bad as you saw, where is the police report from October 1st where it indicates that somebody was locked up and they came out of the place and anything happened? You don't have that here. And it's so easy to get all these calls. And Commissioner Smith pointed out, you just get an address. They don't indicate anything particularly happened at that location. It's just an address that they report to. And you know, if you want to say, well, you know, it's because Annabelle Lee's has something, or if everyone, it makes it a violent place. You know, you read every day people in Fells Point, they get jumped. people in Canton, what are you going to attribute it to a liquor establishment? If that's the case, then do away with all of them. You think it's going to stop? No, it will not. Now, we'll go down a list of exhibits. All the exhibits, except for the testimony at the end, nobody witnessed any event. All they're doing is mimicking what somebody had given them some information. The last people who testify indicate they saw something happen outside, but whether or not these people came from this establishment or didn't come from the establishment, nobody has ever been able to establish that. And that's to go ahead to link them to this establishment, I think is disingenuous. I think you're dumping on, the particular licensee. Licensee indicates they got security cameras, they've got lights, they've got security. Although I don't know that every place has to have security, because if that's going to be the rule, it would be the rule. I mean, everybody has security. I mean, I'm sure that the Patterson movie don't have security. I'm sure the Mustang doesn't have it, and Matthews doesn't. They got good pizzas. That's what they have. So I think with regard to the calls, and I think it goes back to what your inspector, Ed Owen, says. They get calls, and guess what? They're anonymous, and when they go there, nothing's going on. So from that point of view, people can call in all the time. You've seen it in this case. You've seen it in a lot of cases. They just start calling in complaints, and nobody, bellies up to say that it's theirs. I think that in this area that we're in, we live in a very violent type of community where people just do things for no particular reason without responsibility. But you can't make the licensee go outside and do something. You cannot do that. Because if you do, then you make that a rule, and they don't have to call the police, and you'll see what will happen. People will be rolling around on the streets. You go this Sunday night, go to the Ravens game. You think anybody will be locked up there? I bet you there'll be 25 people locked up there. That's 20 or 25 people every game. You going to take their liquor license away? Not on a bet. You wouldn't even think about it. You have things that happen downtown, and, I can go through here, and I just don't like to see anybody treated, unfairly in the thing. You have one location, former police officer, another man dead, 6 wounded at the Club Select. Take away their liquor license? People are killed. No. Man dead, 3 others wounded at Bourbon Street, inside the place. Take the liquor license? No. Liquor board finds Bourbon Street on Girls Going Wild. Take their license away? No. Iguana Cantina, same thing. Man died in the place. They have to have a case going in a court special. Take their license away? No. Here's the police officer shot a guy 7 times in an alley behind a bar. Liquor license taken away? Stabbing and shooting in the harbor. Take their liquor license away? No. You had the same thing last year with Butts and Betty's when you had the St. Patrick's Day event. You had videos there. Did you take their license away? No. You had the people downtown where the Ravens were at. The people were shot in line waiting to get into the club. Take their license away? No. All I'm saying is you got to treat people fairly. You don't treat one different than another, and I can guarantee if you go through your records and all the things that are happening that aren't. Is there a lack of communication here? No. Yeah, but you can't go to a meeting where people attack you all the time. Is there some way that we can say there's a Hispanic liaison? You used to have all these liaison people. I don't know where they have them. They're all gone. I can't even find that anymore. This is not the Hatfields versus the McCoys, here. It's not, Custer's Last Stand versus the Indians or Spanish Inquisition we have here. I just think there has to be, some reasonable way that the people all work together. You see the Mustang here? You see Matthews Pizza here? Certainly, they're very effective. They're businesses. They're not here on it. And other violations that you saw there had to do with the loud music that didn't take place. People get shot outside of Taco Bell. They get shot at the Walmart. I mean, what do? Close down every Walmart and Taco Bell that there is? Where does your responsibility end on a thing? I understand that people weigh this against people have a right to have the peaceful, but also on the other hand, once people get outside, somebody has to say, what is it, how do you handle this? How far would they go? Do you let them go 50 feet, 20 feet? You got to say something? Where do you go? Especially when all these events happen outside. They didn't originate in the place. Now, you've had places where they originate and then they roll out onto the pavement. I just think that in today's economic climate to punish someone In light of what is going on here, certainly, everybody jumped on the bandwagon here, and there's only people, there's nobody here summons the 2 guys that were stabbed. Is there a reason for that? You would think they would be important? Nobody got the police officer. Would that be important? Yeah. How about the guy on October 1st? Anybody summons it? No. And it's like the missing witness rule. Would it be because they would say something that maybe not bolster the case? Well, I would think so, especially when your inspector says it happened at the bus stop, didn't happen there, and they're not even sure they were in there. Well, okay. But I mean, just to have a lot of people come in and say they're fearful, and I empathize with that. There's a lot of people that be fearful. Some people won't go out. Greenman Avenue, they say they won't go out at night. But how do you do that? How do you dump that at the feet of the licensee? Should there be more communication? Should there be, and I think you asked the question about the Hollandtown Business Association. I know I had mentioned to Carlos Cruz because he seemed to be the fellow with the Hispanic connection. Probably so. But I mean, once it gets outside, I don't know what else more you can ask them to do. You can ask them to bar a certain person. If he comes in and causes problems and we know it, then he's barred. But if I don't know that, I'm just not going to bar somebody out of a place. So I think in this case here, there are really no facts that link the 2 incidents that happened with this location, other than what was given that it happened at the bus stop and didn't necessarily have anything to do with these customers at this location. It's anything on October 1st. And the other things about littering, and you would have environmentals at the kazoo. They issue those things at the drop of a hat. You would have 50 environmentals, 50 from the fire department. Didn't happen. So I don't think they made their case.
All right, thank you very much. We'll go off the record
Oh,
at this time.
I can't offer a rebuttal.
Only in rebuttal to that which she spoke about in closing.
Yes. So with regard to Mr. Kadensky's admonitions, why didn't we bring the police? Why didn't we bring every business owner? I think it's pretty clear. We have 30 exhibits in front of you. We have over 130 people who've signed the petition who live in direct proximity to this home or to this bar who say that they're afraid. I find Mr. Kadensky's summoning of the violence of the city incredibly depressing, because the point is we shouldn't be allowing this kind of activity to go on. If it happens in any bar, in any neighborhood, it needs to stop, because nobody anywhere deserves to live across the street from a place where at 2 a.m. they're woken up by 7 police cars. It just shouldn't happen. That shouldn't be our standard. Our standard here should be a good community relationship, a safe bar, a safe place where people don't feel afraid that they have to walk across the street to go down the street, where they don't feel afraid to go home at night. One of the reasons we don't have more witnesses here is because people were afraid to testify, because they live in this area and they don't want people to see them because they're afraid of what would happen when they go home. So I find Mr. Kadensky's argument depressing and off the point, because the point is that not all bars are like La Raza. Matthews is not like La Raza. Clementine is not like La Raza. These bars in the immediate area have had an incident here or there, but nothing that approaches the level of the incidents in the past 6 months at La Raza. Not all bars are like La Raza, and so not all bars need to be shut down. But when there is a bar that is making a neighborhood unsafe, that is making a neighborhood dangerous for the homeowners there, for the business owners there, for the pastors who wrote letters who said, my churchgoers don't like walking by La Raza on their way to church. That is a problem, and that shouldn't be tolerated by the board. That should be an example that that is not acceptable behavior. I think it's clear that Ms. Mejia is out of her league here. She does not have control over her bar. She has one security agent for a place that has a potential of 215 patrons. She is not there most of the time. She doesn't know about all the liquor rules. I think she's out of her league, and I think that that is another reason that it makes perfect sense to revoke her license at this time. The board gave her a chance in April. You said, meet with the committee, meet with the community. Sometimes you just gotta suck it up, you said, and meet with the community and work with them. She hasn't done that. Nothing has changed. It's gotten worse, if anything. And therefore, it is totally within your right and your power, and you should revoke the license for this bar. Thank you.
Thank you. We're off the record. Little round.
Not concerned. She ain't cool. Missed the meeting. Don't know the parameter of responsibility on the outside. No security to cover the interior.
Everything out
And
of
the
my
partial. And she could have made the calls and log. She ain't had to go out there and try to personally stop them. Make the call and log. Have a log book. Can't do none of that.
In the back. You want one? We'll do it up. Mr. White.
I have a,
Other two more halls. Ms. Smith needs one there.
Please. I know there may be some concern of seeing explicit of the egregious. No, I agree. Testimony was
I do too.
compelling.
Actually, I do too.
And I think, yes, that there is a yeah, that I think that there is a reasonable expectation, noise, and potential for criminal elements to happen in Baltimore. I think it's a combative, proactive manner that makes one that reduces for those bad actors. Copious
Let loose.
and cut loose.
so why didn't this happen at the bus stop at this other establishment? Why didn't this happen in, I mean,
There's a bus stop right
That's
by,
not-
several bus stops right by my
yeah,
house.
it's here. It happened here. I mean, so,
Establishments there have been violence. Today, I'm not here, I don't think we're here. How we can save everyone and everything in Baltimore City. We address each establishment when they come before us.
They're sure.
Yeah.
Petition. All the evidence in stabbing is
Right.
let me ask you another question too. Is it easy to use need and accommodation? Because these people are outside of the parameter and these people live.
No, but the way Jane did this,
It's the
and I'm not-
operation.
she did, this is a 3-point, this is a violation here, so it's about operating and avoiding.
Okay. Okay, we can't use that. So yeah, we can't use it, right?
Let's go. We're gonna have to, it's gonna take about 15 minutes to go through the evidence on this, because this will be an appeal.
Huh?
I promise.
Say again?
Pertains to the points that you're doing, whatever.
In fact, well, give me your notes then, I'll give them back.
Okay, no.
You may wanna hold on to
No, no,
them.
no.
Okay. Okay, I'll mention your specific concerns, you shared
Okay, well,
specific concerns.
based on my, fact that I don't feel she provided any evidence contrary where, there was gonna be physical harm to her if she was to continue the conversation. Well, you don't have to go through that, but capacity of the bar.
And another thing too, while you're looking at that, they got a communication problem. She has someone managing her bar. You can't speak to the authorities. You don't speak the language. I don't know whether we can utilize that, how that sounds. That might sound bad, but
But I
still.
think we can say, too, there's nothing meant to strike fear in any example.
Yeah.
Jeez, no, man, I don't say that either.
I don't
Think
know,
of
but
that. You know, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
It's one of those things that you know it.
I mean, I think you hit it. Operations of bar is concerned. Unaware of the rules, admittedly hadn't read them. Her business operations, she's got one security guard, 200 statute 215, someone that has their greatest capacity.
A potential of, use the word potential of, but she said she had like, for that whichever. Even with that, she had too many. Yeah.
I think she lacks proper controls to prevent village of any bad actors into the neighborhood. And I think she has disregard for the residents immediately to the location with her statements that anything outside of her bar
I
is
think
outside of her
her, I
control.
think her relationship with the community is so damaged, she can't be. It's beyond repair.
Okay.
That's based on her assessment of what took place in the meeting, plus how they look at her, because they don't go inside the bar and tell her anything. But anyway, let's go, man. Let's go home.
All right.
Okay, so here are my 3 points. And eyewitnesses with compelling testimony. That's all I got. That's a mascot.
Take it.
You get it.
All right. Take that back. Let's rock and roll.
I don't understand. Even watching. Oh, so bad. I feel really bad.
All right. Where is the, let me just see that. Everybody's dying. Hey, let me borrow your preamble-y thing. I don't even know what happened to my docket sheet. That got buried a long time ago. Thank you. I just need this back page.
Pulled it up.
Good.
Oh, on YouTube?
What's going on? Put some dust up in here.
I know, it's just a dusty place. I even wonder if it's what I eat at lunch when I eat that lamb. I get more choky in here, but it is also just that being in the fish bowl makes me, apparently. I think we're ready, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we will wait for you if you need to, given your situation. I forgot about that. Yeah, sure.
Oh, let's go, Rachel.
All right.
Let's go.
Let's go on the record. All right, good evening. This is our decision phase for November 29th, 2012. Yerilyn Jennifer Mejia, Mellis Incorporated, trading as La Raza Cantina, 3137 to 39 Eastern Avenue. We're here on a rule violation 3.12, indicating, alleging that the licensee has operated her establishment in such as a manner to avoid disturbing the peace, safety, health, quiet, and general welfare of the community. The board, this hearing was triggered by a petition filed by, or signed by 137 residents of Southeast Baltimore. The petition indicates, in addition to at least 2 specific incidents regarding the bar, it further alleges that the bar refused to take actions to stop the disruptive and dangerous activities around it and refused to work with the community to maintain a safe and responsible business. The petition is indeed signed by very local residents, who live in a very close proximity to the establishment for the most part. Over 90% of them involve immediate neighbors. The board received many exhibits in this matter and heard surprisingly little by way of volume of testimony, and we'll discuss the testimony first. The board heard from Ms. Sarah Dickey, who, in addition to being a crime analyst with the Baltimore Police Department, is a resident and a neighbor of the establishment. Ms. Dickey indicated in a professional capacity that, and in fact introduced, authenticated, and exhibit into evidence the protestant's 27th exhibit, which is a calls for service report from the Baltimore Police Department. She indicated that there are more than your average amount of calls for service to this particular bar. She also contrasted it, compared it to other bars in the vicinity. She also discussed what she believed was an increase in the calls for service since April 2012. In her testimony, in her testimonial capacity as a resident, she testified that she saw, at least on one particular occasion, patrons, loud patrons, piling out onto the street, in her words, prompting her to call 911. She testified about the problem, or the ongoing problem of noisy patrons at closing time. Board also heard from Mr. Corey Profit and heard from Mr. Dan Tracy of the Canton Community Association regarding their inability to have a respectable amount of communication with the licensee, not being able to communicate with the community organizations. Next, we heard from Senator Bill Ferguson of the 46th District, who is a resident who lives with his family 2.5 blocks south of La Raza Cantina. He'd indicated that many of his constituents have reported to him that they feel threatened by the activities that are outside and around the bar. He indicates that he saw police tape when he was walking in the neighborhood following an incident that occurred there in the end of September or early October. We also heard from Mr. Bazoff Cohen, also regarding loud noise and unruly protests. The board was impressed by the testimony of Deborah Puggi, who was a 3-year resident and reported many, many fights, the fact that she was scared by the proximity of the bar to her home, that she was awakened by yelling outside from patrons who came outside of the bar, and other disturbances on or about October 1st of this year. We watched a video that Ms. Puggi, although she did not shoot that video, she was present for the scenes therein. That video showed a disturbance with a large police presence, 7 officers apparently being there, according to her testimony, and a disorderly patron. At the end of she also testified that around the end of September, she watched as patron chased someone with an object of some kind out of the bar and into the neighborhood. The testimony of Ms. Mejia, the licensee, indicated that she testified that she didn't have any prior misconduct allegations, no arrests, no other kind of citations other than a tax matter, and other than the obvious 3-week suspension that she faced for misconduct as determined by the board at our protest of renewal hearing on April 26 of this year. Ms. Mejia admitted that she had not reviewed or read the rules and regulations of the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City. Commissioner Smith indicated that they were available in more than one language. She also seemed to have some difficulty understanding certain basic tenets of alcohol management, and indicated that she indeed is not at the bar full-time, that she's there 3 to 4 times a week, and that there's a manager who works there 5 nights a week. She also indicated that the Hampstead Hill Association had supported her application to transfer at the initial application level. We heard from Ms. Alvarado, who apparently is the manager, and she indicated that she didn't know that there was a stabbing out front, and that the bar was not to blame for it. And as far as the rest of the evidence, we'll get there. As far as the rest of the evidence is not testimonial form. It comes in the form of letters, comes in the form of petitions, photographs. Petition received into evidence as a petitioner's Exhibit C is a petition supporting the bar. We do note that the petition, in addition to containing names without addresses, that the petition clearly does not reflect anyone in the immediate vicinity. And I take that back when I say anyone. There are several signatures that are in the immediate vicinity, but a large majority of them are indeed from miles, in some cases miles away from the club, but in almost every case, at least 8 to 9 to 10 blocks from the location of this bar. We received a list of over 22 people who are here today who would testify in favor of the bar. And again, there's nothing disparaging about it, but many of the people who signed this list are not walking to this bar. Wherever they are, they have a long walk to this bar. But they're here because they obviously care about the business. And the same goes for the petitioners and those who were on the petition but did not testify to testify here today. They, to their credit, are much more clustered together, to say the least. At least 80 to 90% of the people on this list live in the 400 or 500 block of Southeast Avenue. That's the address that they've used. So we received those petitions. We received the photographs of the bar and the exterior, and it looks clean as of the date that these photos were taken. The documentary evidence presented by the petitioners revealed so much more than the testimony did. Mr. Michael Wood in Exhibit 9 in his letter to the board, Mr. Michael Wood is the owner of the High Grounds Coffee Shop. And as Ms. Learman briefly quoted him in closing, he was constantly annoyed by all the amount of litter in the neighborhood as a result, what he said was a direct result of the patrons, and indicated that that his employees were in fear, and he feared for his employees because of the customers that came and went from the La Raza Cantina. In Exhibit 10, Miss Carrie Schiller, she indicates that she had been routinely insulted by patrons who were congregated out in front of the bar, and she lists as one of her complaints the constant or routine fighting of patrons from the bar. Exhibit 16, on behalf of the petitioners, Mr. Bazoff Cohen, who did testify. He talked in his letter a little more depth than that he was able to in his testimony, talking about the ongoing disorderly conduct of the patrons of the bar, the threats of violence, the yelling, and that he believed it had degraded the quality of life in the neighborhood. In Exhibit 18, Mr. Mike Dunn, also another neighbor and resident, indicated loud and disorderly conduct at 2 a.m. specifically at closing times, patrons leaving the establishment routinely with open containers, and again, the constant problem of littering. Miss Valerie Dowdle in Exhibit 21 spoke of her personal experience with loud noise and unruly patrons. Skipping back to Exhibit 17, Lauren and Kevin Grace of 511 Southeast Avenue noted that they were awakened on more than one occasion, including their infant child, from fights that had broken out onto the street. Exhibit 19, continuing, Mr. Peter Gaylord wrote to the board that he saw, again, unruly crowds congregating and pouring onto the street, and his fiance had to call 911 to receive any relief there. So, I think it's ironic that we spent so little time talking about the stabbing. Maybe we spent too much time talking about the stabbing, because the stabbing, the board doesn't rely on the stabbing to make a decision today. There's very little evidence about it. There's a police report, but obviously no one had personal knowledge. No one in this room watched the stabbing as it occurred, and certainly no one testified to that. Obviously, based on the date of it, it's probable, it seems likely to the board, that the stabbing may have been what prompted this petition to be filed now, rather than April or whenever. But the stabbing wasn't really, it didn't stick as far as us determining by preponderance of the evidence that the bar had a absolute liability and failed in that liability. So what we need to do here, as this is a violation hearing, is we need to sift through all this testimony and decide where to come down as far as a balance between the community and the right to operate a business. Commissioner Smith was a little surprised that the licensee seemed to be slightly unaware of the liquor board rules. Believed that the testimony of the licensee indicates that she lacked proper controls to prevent possible over-serving. Commissioner Smith was surprised by the testimony of the licensee in that she indicated a disregard for the neighbors by saying something to the effect that when the patrons leave, they're outside of my control. She also found the testimony of Mr. Cohen and Ms. Pooji to be compelling and believable as credible eyewitnesses. Commissioner Jones was similarly surprised that the licensee didn't seem to fully grasp some of the alcohol management concepts, didn't understand or believe that there was any responsibility to be undertaken by her and the perimeter of her bar. We understand that there's one security guard for a place with a capacity of 215. And so we step back again, and we want to balance the needs of the community with the right of owners to occupy and run a business. This bar owner was negligent. And I feel like it's deja vu. I think this board certainly feels like it's deja vu, and maybe some of the people in the audience do, because all of these issues were addressed at the April 26, 2012 protest of renewal hearing. Everything except a stabbing. Noise, unruly patrons, fights. We've been there, and we discussed all those. Even the loitering. So at the protest renewal hearing, there are 1,400 liquor licenses in the city. I believe in 2012 we had 14 protests of renewals filed. So you get a protest renewal filed against you, you're in the notorious or infamous 1%, so to speak. And if memory serves us correctly, Ms. Mejia was given a 3-week suspension to close the bar down for 3 weeks. And that turns out to be the punishment, the toughest punishment, I believe, of all of the licensed establishments that faced a protest of renewal hearing. So in April, a choice apparently was made, maybe to do nothing, maybe to take the 3 weeks punishment and then go back to business as usual. The board was hoping that the conduct that caused us to spend 3 hours at a hearing in April, the conduct would have changed so that we don't have to be back here for just another hearing. Now, in closing, Mr. Kadensky, since we're still on the subject, Mr. Kadensky indicated Butts and Betty's. They had a wild St. Patrick's Day party. You didn't shut them, you didn't close them down, you didn't take their license. And no, we didn't take their license, but we did give them a brief suspension, and we haven't seen them before us since that time, because presumably they changed their conduct. So again, we heard a little bit about the stabbing. We spent time arguing on a police report about the stabbing, but the board is not relying on the stabbing at all to make their finding. We are relying on the near constant disturbance of the peace that's occurred at this establishment, and it's a direct result of the negligent operation, the inability of the licensee to make it imperative to be known to her customers that they have to conduct themselves in a proper manner when they step outside to smoke, use the telephone, or on their way in or out of the bar. So we'd like to protect the residents who live on Southeast. We'd like to protect the residents of Canton and Patterson Park, but Matthew's Pizza is there, Patterson Theater's there, Clementine is there. You said these are cultural gems in our neighborhood. And we most definitely believe, by unanimous vote, that the licensee did, in fact, fail to avoid disturbing the peace, welfare, health, and quiet of this fine community during the spring and summer and early fall of 2012, as listed in the petition and as testified to, and in other forms in evidence today. So we're not, well, what are we here to do? What we're not going to do today is we're not going to require the residents to spend a winter of discontent and wait for spring and protest of renewal hearings. So we don't have a smoking gun. We don't have that stabbing. That doesn't mean anything to us. What does mean things to us are the, not 1,000, but perhaps 20 or 30 pinpricks of so many lives that have been disrupted. Not as much disrupted to one life in a stabbing, but disruptions nonetheless that degrade the quality of life for the folks who live near this bar. So instead of making the residents suffer through this winter, the bar, its license will be revoked by this board, and that's effective immediately. Your client, as you know, has her legal rights. She has her right to reconsider, ask us to reconsider our decision, has the right to seek a petition for judicial review with the Circuit Court for Baltimore City within 30 days. Is there anything else? All right, thank you very much. We're off the record and we're adjourned.